Guys, welcome back to another video. Now before I begin today's video, which is on the cost of living crisis in the UK, I would like to give a big shout out to all of the subscribers who helped me reach the subscriber count of 4,000, and it's been a really great journey with all of you supporting me through each and every step as soon as I started YouTube. But just to let you know, I've also embarked on a new journey, which is Instagram, and my Instagram handle is physiotherapy in UK. So please do not forget to show me your warmth and support on that as well. But coming right into today's content, which is the cost of living crisis. Now, as some of y'all are aware that the costs of UK have been steadily increasing over the past few months. Now, it is currently at its highest level and its peak, which has not been seen in the last 40 years or so. And obviously, a lot of people have attributed to the rate of inflation, which could possibly be because of the Russia Ukraine war. But there are some other key reasons for this high cost of living in the UK and especially in London. So, one of the major reasons was that the winter last year in the UK was exceptionally cold, and obviously, that meant that there would be a higher demand of more gas and fuel generally to keep the houses warm, which meant more energy consumption. Now, that being said, you would have thought that it would be fine, but in the last year or so, there have been about 29 energy companies that have shut down, which has led to a decrease in the energy production or the monopoly of energy production, so as to say, in the UK. Now, another reason for the cost of living crisis is the supply chain demand and obviously the rising grocery prices across the UK. And finally, how could we forget the UK inflation, which has been on the highest and is right now at a current rate of 10.1%. And if you want to know more about the UK's inflation and if this is a good time for you to be coming into the UK, please do not forget to check out this video, which was just released a month ago and has pretty accurate figures to help you decide. But diving right into today's content, let's just see some of the key figures or key numbers that you need to be aware about before you're making your move into the UK. So, coming down to the first major expense that you are going to be having as an international healthcare professional or student even is accommodation. Now, as you are all aware that the rental accommodations in the country are really soaring up and the rental markets are really looking quite expensive as this minute. Some would also say that this sort of price is almost similar to the pre-COVID levels that were existing before COVID even came into UK. Now, if we are looking at London alone, London itself is divided into 6 zones, and I'm just going to pull up the tube map to sort of help explain this to you. So, as you see from the center moving outwards, it's almost that the prices of the houses would sort of vary across these zones. So, thinking about it, most of the companies or the financial and the IT sector hubs are located within the central London, and obviously, the prices of accommodation within this sort of central zone is going to be quite high. And as you move outwards, the sort of pricing is then going to sort of keep reducing as soon as you move to the sixth zone. So, just to sort of give you a flavor of what kind of prices of rentals you are looking at in London alone, if you are looking for a studio apartment, and this was one of the cheapest apartments that I found, I think, on Open Rent, is about £900 without bills in zone 1 for a small studio apartment. Whereas if you tried to get a one bedroom apartment, it would easily be around 1,300 to 1,700 pounds again without bills. Whereas if you're trying to move away, say to zone 3, the expected price for a studio apartment would be somewhere around £850, but the rental price for a one bedroom apartment would be somewhere around 1,200 to 1,500 pounds. Now, similarly, just thinking about what if you come as a family, for example, you are a healthcare professional coming to UK with your family, then the rental cost for a two bedroom apartment in zone 1 would be somewhere around 1,700 to 2,000 pounds without bills. And in zone 3 and 4, it would be about 1,400 to 1,500 or 600 pounds, even again without bills. Now, these are obviously some values that you should keep in mind when you are considering to move into the most expensive city in the world. But that being said, there are going to be some additional costs for you. So, some of the additional costs that you will be having are council tax, broadband or Wi Fi, and energy bills. Now, this brings me to the second most important expense for you, especially if you're considering to move into the UK in the next year or so, which is energy bills. Just thinking that most of the energy prices in the UK have currently been increasing over the past 6 months or so. Obviously, the rising energy prices have tried to be capped by the current Prime Minister, Liz Truss. She has now placed a cap of about £2,500 for every household. So previously, if you were having direct debit payments, you would be paying around 1,277, whereas now you would be paying around 1,976, which is an increase of about 6 £194 per year for direct debit payments. And those who were prepaid customers for electricity before, who were paying about 1,309, are now going to be paying anywhere around 2,017, which means that they would have an increase of an annual payment of nearly £708. And as you can see, all of these values are obviously much, much higher than what we have seen in the last year or in the last 6 months itself. Now, again, one thing that I would like you to be mindful about is the prices that I have shared is obviously for London, but the prices in other cities would be something similar. But as you start moving out of the city into its regional areas or within the local villages and towns, the cost of renting and the cost of bills, in fact, will be much lesser as compared to what it is in the cities themselves. Now, just thinking about some of the other costs other than renting and obviously the costs that are associated with having a house in London. The second next biggest expense for you is going to be food and groceries. Now, obviously, food and groceries can be largely variable between you and me, but just thinking across some of the key points is it largely depends upon which supermarket that you will be buying your food or groceries from. Now, some of the cheapest supermarkets across the UK is Lidl and Aldi, and I'm just going to pull up a screen right now just to give you a flavor of the different kinds of levels of supermarkets that we have in the UK. So, as you can see, Lidl and Aldi are some of the cheapest supermarkets, followed by Asda, whereas a Tesco, Morrisons, and Sainsbury are sort of the middle tier supermarkets that are available in the UK, whereas a Waitrose is considered to be the most expensive. Obviously, as you can see, these are the sort of levels of supermarkets that are available in the UK. And obviously, if you want to cut your budget or if you want to cut costs, you would try to shop at a cheaper supermarket. But that being said, I would want to make you aware that generally the cost of all essential food items, including milk, meat, fish, vegetables, etc., has risen by nearly 12% in the past year. So let me just give you an example. I used to buy a 4 pint of whole milk, so full fat milk, for about £1.15 last few months ago, I'd say. And now the price for that is £1.45, which is nearly a 30 pence increase just for one milk, that is 2.2 liters of milk. So as you can see, the price of milk alone has increased quite considerably in the past few months, which has obviously had a toll on my general grocery bill for the month. Now, coming down to the next major expense, which I think is transport. Now, if you are somebody like me, obviously you will know that I do not know to drive. I do not own a car in the UK. So, obviously, the biggest transport link that I would be using is public transport. Now, just to make you aware, most of the public transport system in the UK or in London, especially, is run mainly with tubes and buses. So, I'm going to be talking more about it. But just to let you know that the entire London itself is connected by 9 tube lines. So obviously most of the parts of London are connected quite well, and you can definitely get from point A to point B by using a tube, even if say one line is down. But the other alternative, and this is something that I genuinely prefer, is buses. So buses, the reason that I prefer them is obviously because it's quite cheap to travel in the bus, but also they have an extensive network spreading all over London again. So it again gets quite easy for me to hop on a bus and keep getting off and on as and when I would like and please. But I think one of the major limitations in terms of buses is keeping in mind the amount of traffic that would be there when you are on the road. So, if you would like to cut your travel time, I would highly recommend that you consider using a tube, especially because traveling in the tube, say from zone 3 to zone 1, could be anywhere between 2.9 to 3.5 pounds based on whether it is off peak travel or on peak travel. Now, again, to give you a flavor of what this travel cost increase looks like for me personally, I used to travel in bus all the time in the past, and in the past I would pay about £1.50 for per journey, whereas right now I am paying about £1.65. And you could say, oh Nikita, that's just an increase of 15 pence. How does that even affect your life? Well, if you add up that 15 pence for every sort of journey that I make in a day and over the month, it makes a considerable amount of difference. Now, that being said, in the past, say maybe even 3 months ago, I would have paid a travel cost of about £60 a month for me to get from home to work. And now that has directly risen to about £97. So, as you can see, the sort of change in just my travel cost alone has been quite significant in the past few months. Now, coming down to the next biggest expense, which I think is Wi Fi and broadband. Now, just for the ease of this video, I've sort of split it up into the phone plan and the broadband plan. Now, in terms of a phone plan, that's obviously the plan that you have on your mobile phone or on your work device, for example. And for me personally, I use a £5 plan given by Labara, and this price hasn't increased over the past couple of months or so. So it's been quite convenient for me. But that being said, I have a very low data limit, which is about 3 MB a month, which is fine for me personally because I do have Wi Fi in my house and in my workplace. But if you are someone who has a bigger sort of demand for Wi-Fi, or a bigger sort of demand for data plans, you could easily find a good plan for say £10, maybe from 3 or Virgin Mobiles. Now, just coming down to the sort of broadband plans that are available for people across the UK. You would find really good deals on this website known as Money Saving Expert, and I'm just going to leave the link for that right now in the description box below. They have not paid me, but I just find that a lot of plans on there are quite cheaper as compared to some of the plans that are generally available. Also, they would sort of compare plans for you to tell you which is the most cheapest one in your area where you live with. So I just think it's worth looking at if you're interested in finding the cheapest broadband plan for you. And finally, something which could be another major expense for many youngsters, especially within people of my age group, would be the entertainment sort of expense. So I've again picked out two major entertainment sectors for me, which is Netflix and Amazon Prime. So unfortunately, the prices for both of these have increased by £1 a month. So the basic plan for Netflix was about £5.99, which has now gone up to £6.99. And for Amazon Prime, which was about £8.99, has now gone up to about £9.99. So as you can see, this is again an average cost at the monthly rate, but over the year it would be again a £12 additional. So you would again want to think about what kind of subscriptions you're having, especially if you have additional subscriptions, for example, Spotify, gym memberships, or whatever other sort of subscriptions you might be having or thinking about purchasing in the next year or so once you move to the UK. So now, just to give you a sort of brief overview, I would like to put forth the cost of living within London versus other cities. So as you can just see on the screen right now, I've just shared a table which sort of highlights the cost of living across different cities in the UK. And again, I've just picked out 4 major cities that I think is worth looking at. So if you are a single person, and again, keeping in mind that this is the cost of living without the rent, for a single person in London is somewhere between 920, whereas if you are living in Manchester or Cardiff, that's nearly around £700, which is a major reduction of about £200. Now again, just moving about to a studio apartment for in London, if you would have that, it was somewhere around £3,000, whereas in Cardiff, it's somewhere around £2,319. Now just thinking about 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom prices, again, as you can see, there's a significant amount of difference between London versus Cardiff and Manchester, or even Edinburgh for that example. And while you can see the broadband sort of prices stay nearly constant between London and the other cities, the utility bills sort of vary quite significantly again, with London being the most expensive at about £250 and Manchester being the cheapest at around £160. So as you can see, the sort of city where you choose to live in is also going to affect your cost of living. And that's why I would say that if it is a choice for you to make, say for example, you have a job offer, consider what are you going to be saving at the end of the day. Now, if you would like to know what is the sort of prices, or what is the sort of salary that you're sort of expecting at the end of an NHS job, please do not forget to check out this video just to sort of give you an understanding of what is your monthly income or monthly take home pay. Now again, that being said, I do not want to leave you hanging just with the cost of living video, because all of this information really is quite concerning, right? But I am going to sort of conclude this video with some of the key tips that I have been using to reduce my cost of living expenses even in London. So the first thing that I would like to speak about is obviously reducing food bills. Now, when you think about reducing food bills, there are about 3 to 4 strategies that I would love to share with you guys. The first thing is obviously downloading apps such as Too Good To Go or other apps where you can sort of get prices of items reduced, even in, say for example, a Wenzel's, which is like a bakery shop in the UK, or a Greg's or a Costa Coffee, or even Starbucks, or even some sort of restaurants where they give you food at the end of the day for really cheap prices. And when I say cheap, for example, a £10 meal would directly be dropped to around £3, which I think is a complete bargain. Now, if you would like me to show you what this looks like and what sort of food items you would be getting in it, let me know down in the comment section below so that I can make a video on this in the future. But obviously, that's point number one. The second thing that you could consider to reduce food bills is obviously going after 7 o'clock for shopping, because that helps you sort of get a lot of items with the reduced discount. So, a lot of items in the UK, say, which are going to be sort of expiring or getting thrown in out, at the end of the day, the supermarkets put a reduced label on it, which sort of keeps it for a cheaper price just until that evening when the shop closes. So, if you go after 7 p.m., a lot of the items are reduced and you can definitely make purchases on that. And this can include anything, for example, milk, meat, vegetables, fruits, etc. So, yeah, go after 7 p.m. That would definitely be another go to option for me if you can. Sort of third thing that has definitely helped me, I would say, is having a plan of what I would like to eat in the week, even just to sort of help me identify what are the exact items I would be buying. Now, this is, you cannot believe how much it has helped me in sort of reducing my cost, just in terms of avoiding purchasing items that I'm not going to use until the next month. Because obviously, it will help me to reduce my monthly cost and budget better for the next sort of week, which is definitely a plus point for me. Now, coming down to the second place that you could cut costs, and that is obviously travel. Now, like I explained to you, my travel bills alone went up to nearly £30 in the last 3 months or so, which has been a tremendous amount of stress leading factor for me. But one thing, and this is a mistake that I have made in the past, is not having a travel pass, a weekly or a monthly travel pass. If you are someone who's going to be traveling from your home to your workplace, I would highly recommend that you get a travel pass for yourself, just because it would help to save you tens to maybe say even hundreds of pounds on travel in a matter of a year. Now, the third thing that I would recommend when you think about cutting cost is your entertainment section. So, obviously, you need to be aware that, it's really hard for you to sort of get income in London, but also it's going to be harder for you to spend that income out. So, if you are up for it, I would say drop a subscription or even be mindful about what subscriptions you are having. Say, for example, you have a gym subscription or a Spotify subscription and you're not even listening to Spotify. I would say cancel that subscription, because it doesn't make sense for you to keep losing money on something you're not even availing of. And the last thing I would say is obviously getting deals. Now, it's quite sweet to get some deals and save those extra 5 or 10 pounds in London, especially for someone like me who's just living alone. But yes, some of the easiest places to sort of get deals is Money Saving Expert, which I've already sort of discussed before, and I'm going to leave the link for that right now in the description box below. But also, some of the other places are some NHS discounts and benefits that you can avail of if you are working for the NHS. And I would say, if you do not have a lot of information about it and would like to know more about the deals and benefits of working in the NHS, let me know those in the description box below, just so that I could make a video about that in the future. But yes, guys, that was the cost of living update that I would like to share with you all. Hopefully, it was useful, and if it was, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Take care, you guys. Bye.